Hello and welcome to our live Q&A with Ask Our Students as part of the undergraduate virtual open day. So my name's Josh, I'm a final year chemical engineering student from Halifax, which funnily enough is not a bank, it's actually a place in West Yorkshire. And today we've got some special guests, two other students. Would you like to tell me a bit about yourself?
Yes, and my name is Nishka. I'm a final year psychology student and I come from Malaysia, so nowhere near Yorkshire.
My name's Jeremy. I'm a second year computer science student and I'm from London and Portugal and Iran.
Wow, interesting mix there.
It's a very strange mix.
So let's get started with the questions then. So the first question is, what is the best thing about Loughborough University?
The people. I think that's a very easy answer for me. The community, the people are incredible, anywhere from kind of the lecturers to the people you meet. I've loved the entire experience, and what's really stood out for me is the people I've met.
The atmosphere that the people create in halls is really something else. It's a first year experience like no other from talking to friends at other universities. It's quite something.
I think I've got a similar kind of take on both of your points. I just think the support. So, everybody's just so happy to help you, whether it's, sports and societies or just friendship or, if you're struggling with anything or if you're looking for a job or a placement, like the support network around the university is, it's just amazing.
The amount of time spent in this very room during a revision period where you've got one person just standing at a whiteboard, just explaining everything to all of their course mates, it's something else, the way that everyone helps each other.
Yeah. So
the next question is, what advice can you give me on writing my personal statement? So this was a long time ago for me.
Yeah, now I'm in final year, trying to think back.
Yeah.
I think it's important not to overthink it. I think people put a lot of pressure on creating the perfect personal statement. And I don't think there really is one. People's personal statements will look different, so I bet ours look completely different.
Yeah.
We've done different courses. And I think it's important to kind of showcase who you really are, but it doesn't have to be perfect.
No.
I think it's really important to stress the fact that it's a personal statement. You've got to show your personality through that, and that's such an important thing about Loughborough. Is they're really looking for the people. So like for an interview that I had at Loughborough, as many questions that they asked academically, they asked about me as a person, and that is really important that you put that across through your personal statement.
Definitely. As well, I think on the virtual open day website, there is a section on the how to apply, and there's loads of really good information from the university that are going to share what they think is the best way to help with the personal statement. So that's definitely worth checking out if people haven't seen that. So the next question is, what is the workload like? Is it hard to balance with part-time work, have enough time to do sufficient revision, and still have time to chill with friends and family?
I think there definitely is. Obviously, it's going to be course dependent, and it will be different. But for example, I study psychology, and I think there is definitely a chance to have a life outside academics. I mean, this is a perfect example. This is our part-time job. I do student ambassador. I do campus tours. I also get involved in volunteering, but equally I know people who do sport. You definitely have your time. It's about how you manage that time.
And you're never going to be able to manage your time perfectly when you start at university. I think we've all been there. We've all struggled to manage time. We spent too much time doing one thing and then realised the deadline's arrived. But take the first term, take the first two terms, and you'll eventually find kind of your perfect way of working.
Yeah, for me, I do engineering, so I've not seen my friends or family in the last 4 years. It's 24/7 study, but no, obviously, it's just about, I think uni is, one of the big parts for me is just about learning how you best work and how it forces you to be organised and, be prepared. And absolutely, if you're committed and you're prepared and you're organised with your work, you've got plenty of time to do the things that you want to do. And I think as well, it's really important to make sure you do that. It's really easy for people to just focus on their academics and get really kind of stressed out, but it really helps to have that time to yourself to do whatever you're interested in.
Yeah, I think you get more out of your experience if you do that, because if you just come to uni and all you do is study, you really won't get the full experience like you would if you were involved.
Yeah, I had a great chat with my personal tutor at the beginning of term 2 of first year, and he asked me, how's everything going academically, and then what else are you involved in? I think that's a really important thing. They really help you instill this kind of work-life balance.
Yeah.
That leads on to the next question, actually. So how much time do you get with your personal tutor, and do you get constructive feedback and advice?
I think it really depends on what you need from your personal tutor.
Yeah.
In the computer science department, at least, we have an obligatory meeting kind of once a term where you go to check up on everything, but then they're always an email away, or pre and post COVID times, just walk into their office and have a chat with them for any support that you do need.
Yeah, I think that's the same with psychology. It's really down to you and your personal tutor. So if you feel like, you need a chat, it's literally an email away, which I think is so great. I know there was a time where I had to fly home unexpectedly, and I think it was literally the morning of my flight, I emailed my personal tutor and was like, look, this is what's happened. Where do I go from here? Who do I need to inform? Because it was in the middle of term. And immediately she was like, don't worry, I will inform the relevant people. Here are the forms you need to fill. What deadlines do you have? It was so much support. And I think in that moment, especially because it was a moment of crises and my head was everywhere, I really felt the support. And I think it's one of those salient aspects that you don't think about when you're applying to uni. You're like, oh, well, do I really need to consider that? But yeah, I am always so grateful to that, because it just took another stress out of my life. And that was amazing.
It's just such a nice thing to have. You know, if you don't need any advice, or you feel like you've got everything under control, you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
But if you do need that extra support, they're a first point of contact, and they're really helpful. With whatever it might be, it could literally be anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's good. Do students need to bring a laptop when they go to university?
You don't need a laptop. It can be helpful, particularly as a computer science student. It is kind of quite essential, but then with a bunch of other courses, you don't need to use a computer all the time. And whenever you do, there are, I think, about 300 computers dotted around campus, probably significantly more than that, actually.
You should know as a computer scientist.
Yeah.
I should know, shouldn't I?
What's the actual figure?
I will get back to you on that. But even if you're worried about, is your computer powerful enough to run, if you're doing engineering, for example, kind of all of the CAD software, you can just remote onto any computer on campus that will have all of the graphics cards that you need to be able to run powerful software.
Yeah, no, I mean, I use my laptop to write my essays and things, but equally, I've gone into the computer labs and, done some work there, because sometimes it is nice to step away from your room and, where you kind of do the bulk of your work, especially nowadays.
And if you're a night owl as well, the computer labs are open 24/7 as well, so it's your choice when you want to, though we do not recommend 3 a.m.
Probably not the best.
Domino's is open till 5 a.m. though, so you can get a little snack in the middle of your 24-hour grind.
Yeah, and you can get food delivered, because I've seen someone get Domino's delivered to the library, so options.
It's a good shout. Yeah, I think a laptop for me definitely helps. It's nice to have the flexibility of being able to work where you want, whether it's at home or in a cafe or at university on campus, things like that. But you absolutely don't need one. I know I've got friends who didn't have a laptop, and they think it's great because when they go to the library, or because there's, like you said, there's loads of different computers, easily accessible, open 24/7, a lot of them. So then when they do need to do work and use a computer, they can do that, and then as soon as they go home, no work. They can switch off. So it depends on you and how you work best. But there is options. So do you have to be sporty to come to Loughborough?
It's probably one of my favourite questions I get asked. We get this a lot. Yeah, no. In short, I'm not. I think the most sporty thing I've done is try UV Zumba in first year. That was great.
Sounds cool.
Yeah, but you don't need to be sporty, no.
I mean, it does sound very fun. I hope we go back to UV Zumba. I hope we can try that out before I leave Loughborough. That sounds amazing. But you really don't have to. And if you want to start getting involved in sport, you've got all of the different levels. You've got My Lifestyle, just to kind of get involved in casual sport. You've got IMS, which is where you kind of represent your hall against other halls. You've got AU. There are so many different levels of sport as well if you want to try something out and you might be a beginner. But if you don't want to, there are 80, 100 different societies as well that have nothing to do with sport, so you can definitely get involved in other things.
Yeah.
You don't have to be, but if you are, it's one of the best places to come.
Yeah.
And even if you're just interested, or even if you're not interested, if you might become interested, and then it's, as you were saying, there's so many different clubs and societies, and the facilities are obviously amazing. So the next question is that's just what I was talking about. How good are the sports facilities on campus?
They are incredible. I mean, I don't play sport, but I do watch quite a bit, and it is just amazing. I mean, to see like go into the pool. I really want to go swim there. Hopefully when the restrictions are lifted. But yeah, the facilities are amazing.
One of my first experiences of Loughborough was Big Match, which was literally during Freshers Week, where we all go down to the university stadium, which is crazy for the university to have a stadium in the first place. Yeah. And then we were watching Loughborough versus Exeter, which is where a lot of my school friends went, and just the atmosphere that you get at kind of the sports facilities there is really something else. And if you do then just want to get involved in sport as well, the sheer number of football pitches, rugby pitches, gyms, water-based hockey pitches, there's beach volleyball courts, there's pretty much every sport you can think of. I'm sure that we have the facilities to play that.
Yeah.
So I went to Power Base, which is the gym, like the strength and conditioning gym on campus. And I was there in first and second year, and I just could not believe that this was like a university gym that I just have access to, because they have elite performers there. Like there was boxers like Dillian White was training there as I was in the gym, and I saw him and I just couldn't stop looking at him. And I think he thought I was really weird because I was just staring at him the whole time. Like the Premier League refs, they was there, the England cricket team. It was just, I couldn't believe it. And obviously you can imagine the facilities are just, you know.
The people you see when you're just walking around campus, and you see these incredible sports people. It's...
Yeah. And they're so casual about it. They're like, oh yeah, hi. And you're like, hello? Okay. Casual day.
Yeah. When a lot of the like British elite sports performers come into Loughborough to do the training, I think that says a lot about how good the facilities are. So the next question is, what is the student accommodation like, and how far is it from the lectures?
So I love student accommodation. I went back second year as well. For me, where I was situated, it was in the middle of campus, really. So for me, it wasn't longer than 15 minutes to most of my lectures.
I think that's one thing that's quite different to Loughborough from other universities, is the option to go back into halls if you want. How did you find that?
I loved it. I mean, don't get me wrong, as third year now, I'm quite happy that I live in a house. But yeah, after first year, I was like, I'm not quite sure who I want to live with, or I'm not quite sure where I want to live. It was just took a lot off my mind, and it was just easier to kind of go back into halls. And I loved it. I think he was saying the whole atmosphere is something incredible. It's nothing.
I think halls at Loughborough, it's not just a place where you sleep. It's not just the place where you kind of work at your desk. The community that you have, every hall that you go into, it really doesn't matter whether it's the brand new halls with the ensuite or whether it's an older hall where you know you're sharing a bathroom. It doesn't really matter, because you've got hall traditions that you absolutely love. You have an irrational hatred for every other hall on campus, particularly one. I don't know why, but you get so attached to your hall, and you've got this kind of immediate family vibe when you go to university, which is really quite incredible when you start.
Yeah, I think the first question people ask you is, what course do you do? What hall are you in?
Yeah.
That's always the kind of first two questions people ask you.
I still say that to like Loughborough alumni. It's what hall are you in? And they're like, oh, Hazel Rutland, so are we. And then you've got this immediate bond with somebody that's 30, 40 years older than you. It's a good feeling.
In terms of how far they are from campus as well, this is going to sound really obvious, but it obviously depends on what you study and where you live. Yeah. So I know, like for you was living in the middle of campus, and psychology, a lot of the lectures are probably near like James France. So it was dead close for you, whereas I was in the hall that was like more towards town. So I was in Harry French, which was like the other end of campus to the engineering. So like that was quite a long walk. But one thing I use to get around that, which, as you know, I love my bike. It's just I found my bike so useful for getting around campus. So there's always ways around things.
I think there might be more bikes than cars when you're on the way between lectures. There are just bikes on like every road around campus, all of the students cycling.
My boys. So the next question is, can you choose if you go into an all-girls accommodation?
I don't think there's an all-girls accommodation, but I think you can choose the same-sex flat, if that's what you prefer.
We had a few in Rig, you can choose an all-boys flat or an all-girls flat if that's something that you're more comfortable with.
Yeah.
Cool. Is there any way a friend and I can get the same uni accommodation together, or is it randomly picked?
I mean, why would you want to? You're already friends with that person. You've got this great opportunity to meet loads of new people. I think, you know, there are friends from home that came to Loughborough University and you still get to see them a lot, but you don't want to kind of just fall back on your existing friendships when you have this whole new, like, once in a lifetime opportunity to meet so many incredible people.
Yeah, and everyone's in the same position, you know, not everyone knows people, so, you know, it's not that big of a deal. And I know one of my best friends who I met at uni, she lived in a completely different hall, like somewhere that's about 15 minutes away. But I used to see her at least twice a week. So, you know, even if you don't get into the same hall, you still can get to see them. It's not like it's miles and miles away from each other.
Yeah, and if you do choose to return to halls, which a lot of people do, you then do get kind of some flexibility of saying that you'd like to kind of live with these people again, maybe your existing flatmates or kind of some other people that are moving into your hall. So you do have more flexibility as a returner, but as a fresher, it's so important just to put yourself out there and meet new people.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think, you know, one of the best things about university is meeting, you know, living with, you know, complete strangers, but they end up being, you know, your best friends after a year or 2 years, and then you live with them in the future and you learn about different, you know, cultures if they're from different, you know, places in the world or even from different places in England. You find out, oh my God, that you do this? This is how you cook stuff? It is really interesting and really good.
We found out one of our housemates microwaves chicken and salmon.
Wow,
so you really learn the best and the worst about people when you live with them.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. So the next question is, what is the food like in catered halls on campus, and is there much variety?
I think we were all three of us were in self-catered, weren't we? My experience with catered is when it was exam time, I used to go down to the catered hall just because during exams I didn't feel like cooking. And the food was really good. There is variety. I would say there's a lot of potato options, naturally, but there is a lot of variety, and I did really enjoy it. It was a good option.
I mean, I did very much enjoy self-catered just because I'm trying to kind of fine-tune my non-existent cooking skills. But the level of jealousy that I had for people in towers that could have a full English breakfast ready for them, like as soon as they wake up, that is quite a nice way to wake up. It's good incentive to have breakfast.
I was the same as you. I loved being self-catered and just having the flexibility and the freedom to eat what you want when you want, but also it forces you to learn. Because eventually at some point, whether it's after uni or whatever you decide to do, you're not going to be able to be catered for the rest of your life. You're going to have to learn to cook or figure out how you're going to feed yourself. So I thought, why wait? I might as well just start learning straight away. And I really enjoyed it, to be fair, learning all different things and trying different foods.
Yeah. Equally, you know, I know people in catered halls who did love it because they could just come home from a lecture, go straight to get their meal, didn't have to wash up. They used to always say that to me. Yeah.
Really
Oh, don't have to wash up. Oh. And I used to be like, oh, okay, yeah. Just sit here and wash my dishes.
I can't speak for how the catered food is, but it does say as well, like, there's obviously food on campus. So in, like, cafes or in, I know the Edward Herbert building, that does really nice food.
That used to be so good.
Yeah. So even if you're not catered, you can still get food on campus, whether it's in like cafes or, like you said, catered halls and things like that.
I've heard a lot about kind of the social aspects of catered halls as well, because when you're self-catered, you're kind of you eat generally with your flat, which is lovely, but kind of you might be eating at different times. But in catered halls, you can sit around with people from different, pre and post COVID times, of course, with people from different flats, and it's really great to just get to know a lot of people in catered halls because you do have the kind of social meal times, which is quite nice.
Yeah, I know.
So the next question is, can we get a part-time job in the first year? Do they offer part-time jobs on campus?
Welcome to our part-time job.
Yeah.
Our part-time job.
Yeah.
So yes is the
I've
answer
had
to
this.
that.
Yeah, I've had this since first year, so you can definitely get involved in first year.
Yeah, there are a few different kind of part-time jobs. Student ambassador, it's a great part-time job to have because it is just so flexible. So when you've got a huge amount of workload, you can turn down shifts. And when you've got quite an easy kind of couple of months or so, if you kind of don't have, well, you'll always have a lot to do, but if you need a bit of extra money, pick up some more shifts. But then equally, you have people working in town in Tesco or Sainsbury's. I work part-time with IT services as well. There's a lot of scope for different things that you can do. It's a very student-centric town, so there are a lot of student jobs going.
Definitely. And I do think student ambassador is the dream job, the best job, because not only when you're saying when you're free and you can put yourself out there and accept shifts, the shifts that you get could be anything. Like obviously we're doing this live Q&A now. Next week we could be doing something completely different or a campus tour. Like it's unreal. But not only is there this, and the university has obviously part-time positions available for students, there is also, like in the town, you've got cafes, bars, maybe not so much now, but hopefully at some point in the future, you know, supermarkets and things like that. So there's definitely opportunities for people. But you've just got to try and see what works for you and make sure you can fit it in with your studies and your personal life and stuff like that.
I think at the beginning when you join university, I think it's really important to just get involved in loads of societies and action, volunteering, RAG, whatever it might be. But then kind of, you know, money is a finite resource. You do eventually sometimes need a little bit more depending on your student loan. So it can be helpful just to enable you to keep going out to restaurants or keep going out, whatever it is that you enjoy doing.
Speaking of student loans, how do you manage your money and student loans at university?
Poorly.
Yeah, very badly.
It takes time, to put it lightly. Yeah, it's about trial and error, I think. You know, don't put so much pressure that, you know, this is my strict budget, this is exactly what I'm going to stick to. Because, you know, sometimes,
But at the same time, don't just blow it all in the first week.
Be careful.
Yeah.
Be mindful of how you're spending money. You know, it is nice to sometimes go out for dinner or get a takeaway. Maybe try and not do that every night. But it is a balance.
Yeah, we've limited ourselves to twice a week in the house with one wild card that we can pull randomly every month, just because it was happening too often getting takeouts. But a lot of people like writing down a budget. I use Monzo, which kind of is quite helpful. It budgets pretty much everything for me, so it's just nice to just have a clear idea of what's coming in and what's going out. It does help you budget your money a little bit better.
Yeah.
I think that's an important part of university, is just learning about, you know, being away from home and, you know, understanding how you best deal and manage with your finances. And it's something that you might not get right straight away, and there's going to be times where you feel like you've got no money and you're really struggling, but you know, that's life and you have to deal with that, and you learn a lot from it, and hopefully in the future you don't have as many of those times.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So the next question is, how has uni life been affected due to COVID? So this is a really interesting one.
Yeah. I think for me personally, it's affected it, but at the same time, it hasn't really when it comes down to uni. So a lot of my teaching is done in person still, so I'm not sure about other courses, but I know for me, you know, a lot of it is done in person, some of it is done online, but the uni have made every effort to kind of make sure that it's safe in person. I mean, even for us to go home for Christmas, they're offering testing, and it's readily available. I mean, I went online, booked in a test. It was really simple, really easy to do. And I know some of my friends from different unis have said, you know, they've run out of tests, or, you know, they're having issues with bookings. And I'm still, till this day, so shocked that it's gone quite smoothly. I mean, at least for my point of view, it has. I'm not sure what the back office, you know, they must be quite stressed. Must be a very stressful job, but, you know, it has gone quite smoothly. They have made so many efforts to make sure that we can have the best uni experience.
I think that the care that they've put into supporting self-isolating students, I mean, I think everybody's heard horror stories from university students running out of food or running out of money. I mean, self-isolating students, they get 3 meals a day, and they also get a takeaway budget. We were quite jealous. So they get, I think, I can't remember how much it was a week, but they just kind of get a meal a week, takeaways, and then 3 meals a day from catered accommodation. And the Vice Chancellor went to visit like every self-isolating household as well. So they really did put in a lot of effort to make sure that it wasn't isolating and that you were quite well supported. We had a similar experience with psychology, in that we had a lot of online lectures now, but then every single online lecture is then followed by an in-person kind of feedback session where you go in person, you can ask questions to your lecturer, they can provide answers for any questions that were in the lecture. So it's been a nice hybrid between the two.
I think with COVID, obviously it's affected everybody in the world, and universities, especially Loughborough, are not exempt to that. But it's just kind of how you deal with that, and I think the university have done a really good job in making sure that we all feel safe, and also we're still getting the education that we want. And I think with the students as well, it's how you adapt to that. And it's quite easy to just sit in your room and not do anything, but there's still opportunities to get out, and you were still allowed on campus and to do your work and things like that. So it's just about how you adapt to things, and if you're willing to do it, then you can still have a great time and make the most of it. So the next question is the campus big? Yes. And how close is everything? And how do you get around?
Yes, the campus is rather large. It can be about kind of 40 minutes to get from one end to the other, depending on your walking speed and if you're going uphill or downhill. Slow walker. But yeah, it is quite huge. But generally with your course, you'll have most of your lectures kind of bunched together in a certain part of campus. So you don't have 10 minutes to do a 40-minute walk.
Yeah.
But even if you had to, you can there's a free campus shuttle that goes all the way through campus to get from one end to the other. Or, of course, I'll leave you to talk about bikes.
Yeah, I feel like you're the specialist here.
Definitely get a bike. Absolutely, I would 100% recommend getting a bike. It's just it makes it so easy to just get around. Not just around campus, but if you live in town or if you're going anywhere, and like the campus is kind of set up so it's so easy for riding a bike as well. Like it's not like you're on a busy, dual carriageway or something, or in the city centre or anything like that. It's dead easy to get around. There's loads of bike racks where you can put your bikes and lock them up, and it just a 40-minute walk is now a 15-minute cycle or something like that. It makes things so easy. But yeah, there is the bus as well, and you can walk around. And the thing is as well, obviously the campus is quite big, but it's quite a nice walk. I don't know about.
I was going to say, it's very picturesque, isn't it? Like
it's
where
so
you
green.
go.
It's quite lovely.
Yeah. So even if you've got a bit of a walk to go to a lecture or to see a friend or to do a club or whatever, it is nice to just walk through the campus, and especially if it's a sunny day as well.
Yeah.
No, it is lovely. I mean, there's like nature. You can walk through the woods on campus. You can just walk through so many just different bits of greenery. You can, as you walk past, you see some elite athletes playing sport, which is just quite. You don't get to see that when you walk through a lot of places. It's quite cool.
Yeah.
Is there plenty of stuff to do in the local area?
I think there is. I mean, you have to remember this is not London. So I think you were from London. I've lived in London for my placement. It's definitely not that. So don't expect that. It is a town, but I think there's plenty of things to do. I mean, I think in first year I hardly left campus other than to do my groceries. There's so much to do. I was involved in, volunteering, and that took up a lot of my time, and I really, really enjoyed that. You can, do raising money, you can do charity work. There's so many different opportunities to get involved.
I think that the fact that Loughborough is, it is a town, and the university knows that, the Students' Union know that, so they put so much effort into making sure that there is a surplus of things to do. As students, I was involved in volunteering a lot, and that's everything from dog walking to alpaca farms to soup kitchen. There is so much to get involved in that regard. Of course, you've got sports, you've got so many different societies, from hiking to French society to video game society. I mean, if you can think about it, there's probably a society for it, so there is a lot to get involved in.
Yeah, because the university is such a big part of Loughborough, it is very much like a student town. So like you say, there is so much to do for students, but at the same time, it isn't like London. It's not a big city. But if you are, wanting to experience that, or you like, seeing big cities, there is big cities nearby. Yeah. So there's Nottingham, which is, 20 minutes, 30 minutes on the train. Same for Leicester. So if you do want to, do some shopping or, be in the city for a bit, then you do have other big cities nearby.
Yeah.
It's somewhat of a nice sigh of relief, like coming from London, being somewhere where the pace it can slow down just a little bit, and you can literally walk for 10 minutes just along the canal, and you're just in the middle of the countryside. Yeah. It's really, really good for your well-being. It's really lovely just to have all of this kind of space around you, just to kind of relax and take in the calmness and the scenery. It's quite lovely. I've got attuned to town life.
I think it's nice as well, because we're kind of in the Midlands. It is really easy to get to London. So, if you do really want that and you want to go see, I don't know, the Christmas lights, for example, it's an hour and 10 minutes, I think, on the train. Yeah. So it's really not far, if you do miss that kind of city life and you want to see it every so often.
We are like slap bang in the middle of England, so it's so easy to get to, whether you want to go back up north for me, or whether you want to go down south to London or anywhere else. Yeah. It's easy to get anywhere basically from here, which is nice. So the next question is, what do you think is the most special? What is the most special about studying at Loughborough University?
I think for me, now being in final year, I appreciate a lot more. But the lecturers who lecture me all do their own research. They're currently researching the field that we kind of learn, and that's amazing, and that makes such a big difference, because you're not learning theories that were from the 1900s that aren't really being used now. You're actually being taught things that are being used now, being applied now, that are current, and they explain things about their research, and you're like, oh, you're doing this now alongside teaching us. Oh, well, that's so interesting. And there's opportunities to get involved. And I don't think every university can offer that, and I think Loughborough is really, really good at that.
Yeah, and the way that lecturers are, they're so passionate about what their research and what they're studying, they just want to kind of pass on their knowledge to the next generation.
Yeah.
It's quite infectious, the amount of passion that they have for what they do, and they are really quite supportive. It instills a lovely sense of community, which for me is the most special thing about Loughborough, the fact that everybody supports each other in everything that you're doing. You can find a new passion and a new hobby by literally just tagging along to an event that your housemate's going to.
Yeah.
And everybody there is so welcoming and so friendly. There is a certain sort of person at Loughborough, and I'm not sure how they all end up at Loughborough, but everybody is just so friendly and so lovely to meeting new people and trying out new experiences.
Yeah.
So the last question is, what's the one piece of advice you give students thinking of coming to study at Loughborough University?
That's a good question.
That is a good question.
Yeah.
Do everything that you can in particularly in the first term. There are loads and loads of taster sessions for different societies. Even if you don't know anybody that's going there, this is how you can make some of your closest friends. It's okay to go somewhere alone. There are going to be loads of people in that position. You're a fresher. Everybody knows kind of what it's like to be there. You're going to make loads and loads of great friends, and you'll find new passions, new hobbies, new interests just by going along to stuff.
Yeah. No, I think my one piece of advice would be don't put pressure on yourself. I think when you do live in a flat with, I don't know, people who do similar degrees to you, and, they're always working or they're pulling all-nighters, you don't need to be doing that as well. So university is about kind of finding yourself and how you work. So if you do want to work all night, and that's how you work best, then that works for you. It may not work for someone else, and what someone else does may not work for you. And it's important that you know that and you don't feel pressured by it.
Absolutely. I think just make the most of it. This is your opportunity to learn as much about yourself and enjoy yourself as much as possible.
Yeah.
And just say yes to everything. Get involved in things, and just become a better person through going to university. So yeah, that'd be my advice. So that was the last of the questions. Thank you both very much for your time and for your answers. I really appreciate that. Hopefully you guys learnt something from our attempted answers at some of those questions. And if you do have any other questions, please feel free to put them in the chat, because we've got other students who are going to be answering them as well. So thank you very much for listening, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.